Welcome everyone to the Dr. Abs Healthcast. I'm your host, Dr. Brian Abasolo, aka Dr. Abs. So obviously, guys, there's a lot going on in the world today. We are still going through a pandemic, just now slowly coming out of quarantine, and we also have the senseless murder of George Floyd on everybody's mind. It's bringing about a call for justice for millions around the world. And I wanted to bring on today my wife, my beautiful wife, Lindsay Abasolo, to discuss certain things that have happened and also talk about her and I and particular aspects of race relations that, many people may not be aware of or talk about too often, and what it's like being in an interracial relationship. And even though it doesn't necessarily deal directly with what's going on with the movement today, I feel it is a part of the bigger picture in the sense of more insight, more education, and more awareness coming to light. So I can't wait to talk to her. So let's get it started. Hey, babe, welcome to the show.
Aw, hi, baby.
How you doing? How you feeling? Where's your head at right now? I know a lot's been going on the last couple of weeks. It's been almost 2 weeks since George Floyd's murder, and a lot's happened since then. So I just wanted to get like a general picture of what how you're feeling right now compared to last week.
Yeah, I feel last week I was not good. I couldn't take 3 steps without becoming emotional.
Yeah.
And it's not that what has happened and transpired over this last month or even just my entire life and just what's happened in this country for centuries hasn't bothered me and doesn't weigh on me. It's just more of seeing the response from America and citizens has made me look forward for the first time in a long time. It's made me feel hopeful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I go back to the protests we were at, and, I just saw so many, different faces, races, ethnicities. It was really beautiful to see. And like, for me, I got emotional during the protest, and I just think it gave, like you said, I think I felt like this is different. You know what I mean? Like, and I really hope that, we continue the fight, and we, the Black community gets the support, from the other races, because at the end of the day, it's just inhumane, what happened to George Floyd and what's happened to so many in the Black community. The oppression has to stop. And, hopefully that this movement right now is going to move us forward and, towards equality, liberty, and justice for all. So, and I just want to thank you. I love you. And I just want to thank you for everything that you do. I'm so proud of you. I'm so, you are a superstar, and I love what you're doing with your platform. And, you are my role model. Like, you are somebody to be admired.
It's about not crying.
I know. Okay, I'm sorry. I went down that right. So today, I wanted to talk a little bit about everything. I wanted to talk about the George Floyd situation. I also wanted to talk about, something that you may not have talked about before, or at least not so much depth, but that's interracial couples. Obviously we are an interracial couple, and, we have, certain challenges that maybe other couples may not have. So I just wanted to dive into that. So with that being said, I feel like there are many couples out there, many interracial couples out there that shy away from maybe hot topics like racism. Now, when you were on the show, we've talked about this before, you knew that there was a possibility that you may not pick a Black person. You may not pick a Black man at the end of this. So you had to basically wrap your head around, what, I'm going to be open to it, whether it's Latino, white, Asian, Black, whatever it is, you were open to that going in. So did you ever think, like, thinking forward about choosing somebody that was non-Black and actually having those conversations about race, moving forward, and what those would be like?
Well, I'll take it a step back to when you first asked me about The Bachelorette. When I went in, I was open-minded, but I didn't really think I would fall in love with someone and then want to get married. I just didn't, because I'm skeptical first. But I knew that if I did fall in love with someone, that they probably wouldn't be Black. And I don't say that because I'm not attracted to Black men, because prior to the show, that's the only serious relationships I had. It's just, I knew the type of Black men that I date would never come on The Bachelor. Like that, I just knew that. So I thought, okay, if I do fall in love with someone, they're probably not going to be Black. And then I also say that too, because there aren't a lot of Black men that come on the show. So, you know, your choices are kind of slim pickings.
Yeah.
So once I was on the show and I started to navigate through the relationships, and then when I knew it was real with you, I was like, okay, I'm going to get engaged to a non-Black man. But I had prepared myself for that as I started the whole journey of The Bachelorette. And in mentally preparing myself, I had to think, okay, what does it look like to navigate this world once you leave this Bachelor bubble as an interracial couple? For the first time, announcing yourself, not just privately to your friends, to the world, that this is who you've chosen and you're going to spend the rest of your life with someone. And with that, not everybody is accepting of an interracial couple. I had to mentally prepare for that. Am I okay with that? I knew my family would be. I knew my friends would be, but we were doing it on such a huge platform. Then I had to start thinking about, what does the future look like? And what does it look like to raise biracial children? And what message will we send to our children? And how will our children be accepted in this world? Yeah. And I knew how I would feel answering those questions, but I needed whoever I was going to choose to understand that as well. And obviously I picked you. So you know that from the beginning, we've talked about this. You know, we've had those conversations. Will your family accept me? Will your friends? Have you ever dated outside of your race? Have you dated a Black person before? Okay, well, when we raise children, what does that look like? And, you know, for us, I mean, you got it. You were already there. I don't know if you were already thinking this as well, but it was effortless. There was no struggle. It was, this is what it is. This is who we are. We love each other. And, you know, we're going to raise a blended family.
Yeah.
It was effortless. And I'm thankful for that. And it just reassured me that I chose the right man, because you got it.
You chose right, baby.
I mean, I like to think so.
So I know, you know, just to kind of take people a little bit into, you know, the intricacies of an interracial relationship and just a little insight into us, you know, there's been times where we've watched documentaries or movies where it depicts racial injustice and oppression, and you feel a certain way about it, you know, like, I want you to talk a little bit about that. And, you know, I just feel that, you know, you feel a certain way about the people that are doing the oppressing in the movies, right?
Yeah.
How important of a role is it for your significant other who is non-Black to show, you know, the compassion and the consideration for scenarios like that? Because I remember specifically, I forgot which movie it was, the one with Jamie Foxx, and
it was Just Mercy.
It was Just Mercy. Thank you for reminding me. You know, I remember asking you questions throughout the movie, like, why are they doing this? Like, why, you know, and I like looking introspectively, like, I knew I was being naive. I was acting privileged in that moment. I was acting ignorant because I saw it as like, wow, this is so messed up. Like, how can this be going on? You know what I mean? And you were sitting next to me basically like, yeah.
I was getting annoyed.
Yeah, you were getting annoyed. Like, this has been going on, Brian. Like, so like at the end, I remember asking you, like, I realized like maybe the questions that I was asking you, like, it was getting you a little heated. You know what I mean? So I asked you at the end, like, do my questions bother you? Like, I apologize if they do. I guess I'm just seeing this a certain way, and I just know it's so messed up. And I thought it was amazing communication. You know what I mean? Like, you respected the fact that I was able to ask you those questions, and at the end, and we were able to actually talk about it. Like, can you discuss a little bit about that scenario that we underwent?
So, just for y'all listening, I am the worst person to watch movies with, or documentaries or shows that deal with social injustices. I am the worst, because I am a person, period, who, when they watch a movie, becomes completely engulfed in that movie. I am the characters. I am the antagonist. I am the protagonist. I am in it, in that thing, and I get lost in it. I'm not that person who tries to figure out what happens at the end of the movie. I am the movie. So I take on movies that affect Black people probably to an extreme level. And I'm the worst to watch it with. I cry. I get mad. I mean, remember the movie that we watched? Was it called Detroit?
Detroit, yep. I remember that.
I mean, when it was over, I just turned away from you. Like, I couldn't speak to you. Like, I couldn't speak to
crying.
I'm crying, yeah. I just, they hit me really hard. And I have to mentally prepare myself to go in to watch a movie. And there's certain movies that I've never seen, right? I've never watched 12 Years a Slave, and I don't plan on watching it because I just don't think I can mentally handle that. I've seen Roots. That was enough. And for me, it's in that moment, in the example that you're giving with Just Mercy, I did get annoyed at you asking questions, because I think I was taken aback that, to use your word, you were naive about it. Like, what were you not understanding? When you kept asking me why, I kind of felt like, what are we not getting here? You get it. You understand this. We've had these discussions before. But when we talked it out, and you were really sincere in asking me questions, I thought, okay, Rachel, take a step back, take a beat, take a breath, count to 10, because I shouldn't jump down on you for genuinely asking a question when you don't have understanding. I should be receptive of what you're asking, and then just appreciate that you're trying to understand and you're trying to learn. Yeah. And I think a lot of times as Black people, we get frustrated because there's so much that, we've been building and building on centuries of oppression. And for us, it's like, how do you not get it? And it's not that you're trying to be ignorant about it. It's just maybe and we've talked about this too, and you can go into this, maybe you've just lived in a world where you didn't have to think about it because it didn't affect you. Yeah. And so what I have learned through our communication is, don't jump so quickly to get upset. Appreciate the fact that you're trying to understand. You're trying to maybe unlearn certain behaviors, and you're trying to learn new things. And for that, I'm appreciative. And I am happy that we can have those tough conversations. And I know other people who are in interracial relationships, or I've heard stories that don't do it. They just gloss over the tough questions and the tough conversations. And that's what I love about our relationship is as hard as it can be, we still sit down and do it because we have to. Because when we step out in this world, we have to be one. We have to be in unison. When we raise children, we have to be on the same page. When our child comes running home to us because of some type of injustice that they face. Yeah. And so, for anybody who's out there listening that may be in an interracial relationship, or if you do in the future date someone, you have to have these tough questions. Otherwise, you're setting your relationship up, or tough questions, these tough conversations, because otherwise you're setting your relationship up for failure. Yeah. Now, speaking of children, how important do you feel it is for children of an interracial couple, for the kids to actually get to know both sides of the culture? How would you
how would you suggest, I mean, obviously everybody has their own kids and they're going to educate, the way they deem fit, but, how would you, what way do you think is a good way to go about educating them and exposing them to both cultures?
Yeah, I think it falls on us as parents. I think it's we haven't met our children yet, our future children, and we don't know what they're going to look like. But they're going to have a Black mother.
Yeah.
And it is very important to me that we raise our child to know when they see you, you're Black. Yes, you might be half Colombian. Yes, your dad may take you out and he might be mistaken as white, but you are Black. And it is very important, I think, that if anybody in an interracial relationship, no matter what hue your child is, no matter what color their skin is, if the parent is Black, you need to tell your child they are Black before somebody else tells them that they are. And it just might go the wrong way. And I talked to you about this, Brian, like it's so important that we tell them that they are Black, because that is how the world is going to see them.
No, and I'm 100% on board with you. Like, I understand that notion, and, it's obviously brought to light in me that, just seeing it with everything that's going on and just the injustices that the Black community has suffered, especially, Black men, me raising a son that is Black, I'm exposed to, apprehensions and fears that I may not have had if I wasn't with a Black person, you know what I mean? And that, I want to be an amazing father. Like, it's my duty to team up with my wife to teach our children that, injustices do happen out in the world, and there are racist people, and that you are going to experience that. And, I'm already looking forward to educating them on, how to act, how to be. And it's unfortunate that Black people have to do that with their kids. You know what I mean? Like, I saw the other day, a father who did a video, it was very powerful. He had his knee on his son's neck, a Black man on the neck of his Black son. And he was like coaching him how to react in that situation so that he, wouldn't meet the same fate as George Floyd. And it was just like, what other race has to do this?
None.
Exactly.
None.
So it's like, it really brings to light, what Black parents or interracial parents have to teach their kids. And, it's scary. It's really, really scary.
It is scary. I've always wanted boys. You've heard me say that. I want boys. I didn't have any brothers, but growing up in this world, I'm scared to raise, a son, a Black son in this world. I mean, my sister's been crying for weeks thinking about the fact that she has two boys who, her husband's white, but her kids are Black. And, she's scared of raising them in the current climate that this country is for Black men, for Black people, but specifically for Black men. But to also answer your question about how do you go about raising them, and I said the responsibility falls on us. I think, yes, our son is Black, but he is also our son. I'm just out there, just putting it in the universe. Our child will be Black, but they are also half Colombian. And I think it is very important for them to know their Colombian culture as well. You and I talk about how they'll be bilingual. You'll speak to them in Spanish, I'll speak to them in English. It will fall on you to teach them the Colombian culture, to take them to Colombia and teach them where they come from so they can know both sides of who they are, which I think is so beautiful.
Yeah.
For my part, I don't speak a lot about this, but I went to a predominantly white school my entire life. And I definitely, my family's Black. I went to majority Black church. I grew up in a majority Black neighborhood. So it's not like I was deprived of my Blackness in any kind of way. My parents always let me know who I was. But most of my time was spent around white people because that's where I went to school. But what I will always appreciate from my parents is that they never made me forget who I was. And I can remember when February hit, I knew that I was getting a lesson the entire month of February on Black history from my mother. I remember, reading books and watching certain shows or movies. I remember her teaching me, giving me a lesson about who this important figure was, this Black figure was to us, like what they invented, what they did. I remember that my mom was my educator on Black history. And that's how I want to be for my kids. And partly was because our history books only taught us so much in school. And so I knew I was going to go home and I was going to get that Black history lesson. And that's what I want to be for my children as well, because there's so much that you don't get out of history books. And the responsibility really does fall on us as parents to be that educator for our kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, speaking of family, I feel like obviously a big potential problem for a lot of interracial couples is resistance when it comes to family. But there's also resistance from friends and obviously society. You receive resistance. So when it comes to two people coming together in an interracial relationship, how important is it for both parties to have thick skin? Because when you're outside, people are going to look, people are going to stare. Your family might not be okay with it. Your friends may make snarky comments, and society. I mean, you see it in today's climate. There's just so much racism going on. The trolls, they're cowards and they won't, reveal their faces, but they're talking trash. So how important is it for both parties to really be confident in who they are as individuals and be confident together as a couple and have thick skin?
Yeah, it's everything. And as I was listening to you ask the question, I thought, oh, I'm Black. I was born with thick skin, right? Like you got to. I was just raised to be strong because of what you're going to face when you step out into the world, right? Like you're just not treated the same. You're not looked at the same. You're not valued the same. I've always been taught that. You got to work twice as hard for half as much. So I've always had thick skin. But as you were asking the question, I was reminded of the very first time I went on a date with someone who wasn't Black.
Yeah.
And I remember everybody looking at me when we went. He was fine because he had dated outside of his race before. Yeah. I had not. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, everybody is staring at me as if I only date outside my race. And I wanted to wear a t-shirt that said, I swear this is just my first time. I remember I had like a panic attack. And so I guess my skin wasn't as thick as I thought because I was not ready for all the looks and with the whispers. And honestly, Brian, no one was probably looking at me. It was all in my head.
It was all in your head?
Yeah, it was probably all in my head. But I think that it is important. It's one thing to have that thick skin. My point is one thing to have that thick skin because you know who you are.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother level when you start dating outside of your race and you have people looking at you in another way, because not everybody's okay with it. Yeah. Not everybody's okay. So it is very important to know who you are, I think, prior to getting into that interracial relationship so that you aren't affected by other people's ignorant opinions about your interracial relationship. It is because it was illegal. I can't think of when. I mean, not too long ago, less than 50 years ago, in some states, it was still illegal to marry someone who was outside of your race, which is insane to think.
It is insane. It is.
During our parents' time, it was illegal to still be in an interracial relationship.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, as far as the keys to a successful interracial relationship, what do you think those keys are? What are the keys to you of a successful interracial relationship?
I mean, I think they're the same as any relationship. But what I will say that you have to have a strong foundation, and you have to have had those tough conversations. I mean, it's one thing when you go on one date, but as you're progressing your relationship and the more serious that it gets, you have to have those conversations of what it looks like to navigate this world as an interracial couple.
Yeah.
And if you create that solid foundation, which I know we have, then all the opinions from the outside world aren't going to get to you, because you know who you are and what you have. So that same confidence that you have to have for yourself and know who you are, you also have to have that for your relationship. And you just, when it comes to money, politics, religion, interracial relationships, all the same. You have to make sure you have those tough conversations about how you're going to navigate this world. I know I feel like I sound like a broken record, but it really is. It's simple and hard at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head as far as the foundation. Obviously, there has to be in any relationship, there has to be mutual respect. And I think, a little bit about what we talked about, the culture aspect. Like, I think it's very important that both parties are open to exploring each other's culture. You know what I mean? Because that's basically like who each individual is in the relationship.
Yo soy colombiana.
Tú eres colombiana. There you go. So, and I know that I've learned a lot about, Black culture, women's hair, the food.
Right.
I've learned a lot about that, and
women's hair. It's so true.
And it's, and then, like you said, having those tough conversations, about raising children and, how you're going to navigate this world. Like, I think that's so important. And I think it has to come from within, from both parties, to want to be that open with each other. So, yeah, no, I totally agree with you.
Can I add one more thing, though, which is also so important is, and I see this happen in interracial relationships, it is so important to not lose yourself in an interracial relationship, right? Like, I'm joking when I say yo soy colombiana, but obviously I know I'm Black.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of people who marry another race and then forget who they are. Just because they married into something, your last name changes. No, like, it is so important that just because it's an interracial relationship does not mean that you lose who you are yourself or your identity in that relationship. You can't do that. I think you accept the culture that you're marrying into, but you also stay true to who you are in yours. I just have to say that because I see it happen way too often.
100%. So, switching gears on the interracial relationship aspect, I wanted to know if you could educate the listeners on the label angry Black female, and why that is such a misconception and why that's such a toxic label that gets applied on women of color. I've personally gotten to experience that, like, kind of like from a third party perspective on it happening to you, where, you hear white women say certain things and, they're applauded for it. They're bold. They're so brave. They're telling it how it is. And meanwhile, you say basically the same exact thing, and now all of a sudden you're considered aggressive and mean, and you're angry and you're a bitch. Like, why? Like, where does that come from? And like, why does this take place?
I mean, there's stereotypes, right? There's stereotypes that are applied to every single ethnicity, every single race. And the stereotype of Black women is that we're angry, we're upset, we have an attitude. And you see that perpetuated in movies, in songs. I mean, how many times, Brian, are we watching a movie and I'm like, look, they got this sister in here playing the angry, customer in line. She's the angry employee. It's a stereotype that if you're not around Black people, because of whatever community you live in,
that's what you're going to think.
Them on TV, that's what you think, and you internalize that. So it becomes this subtle and internalized racism that you have towards a particular race, because that is almost what you've been programmed to learn. Yeah. And you have to be willing to unlearn that to see that there's a difference. And that theme, and I'll use The Bachelor because that's the example that, you were kind of touching on. Even when it's perpetuated in headlines, I was just tweeting back and forth with a reporter from E! News who was talking about the low numbers in following on social media between white Bachelor contestants versus non-white Bachelor contestants.
It's ridiculous.
And I wrote her and I said, yeah, but you're part of the problem because you perpetuate this thinking in your headlines, in the photos, and in the stories that you decide to cover. And she said, you're right. I have. And she said, I've done it for clickbait. If you look at headlines of me in Bachelor Nation, I seem like the most angry person that has ever walked this earth. Yeah. Because it makes it seem like I am always mad at someone.
Yeah, like I see it. Rachel slams, Rachel bashes when technically you're just having a conversation. And then the picture that they use is, you have a stank face, or, it's just
never smiling.
It's on an unappealing photo to give people the impression of negativity. And I just think it's messed up.
White person that I'm bashing looks like a pageant queen, or they're smiling, or they're pleasant. Well, what kind of subtle messages, it's subtle racism. What are you sending out to the viewer? Just read the comments. Oh, here Rachel goes again. She's always angry. She's always upset, when they don't highlight the positive things that I do. People think that I don't support women. I'm always supporting women. Yeah. If somebody picks a fight with me, somehow I'm the one who's bashing when I've never even met the person, don't give a fuck about the person. Yeah. But somehow I'm the problem. And so it's little things like that play into when you ask, why do we get labeled Black women as an angry female? It's the media who plays into these notions that that's who we are. When anybody who will meet me will say that I am completely opposite from being an angry Black female.
All the time.
It's like, how can somebody tell me I'm living a mediocre life and I say I'm living my best life, but I'm a bitch, But then you fast forward 2 seasons later and somebody else tells off a white woman tells off a white man, and she is strong and she is independent and she found her voice and she's a role model. It's so ridiculous. And sometimes I don't even think people realize it. Yeah. We're having this conversation. I'm thankful for it. It would be great if I could have this conversation, to Bachelor fans. So you could wake up and see. I bet they don't even realize that they do it because you're so used to doing it. You don't get it because it's so small, but yet it's so large because there's so many people who think this way.
100%. I totally think, the media could definitely be irresponsible in that way, and they just need to do better. Now, switching back to the whole, today's world and what's happening with George Floyd, why do you think it is that everybody is so woke right now? Everybody seems like they've awakened to all the injustices that the Black community has endured. You have celebrities, coming in droves. You have non-Blacks marching in the street, at least that I've seen. I've never seen that much support for the Black community out there on the streets of protesting, and they're shouting Black Lives Matter, and there's so much support for the Black Lives Matter movement right now. Why do you think, what's different right now? Why is this?
It's interesting to see to watch the world's response right now to George Floyd as if this is an isolated incident. And as a Black person, half of you is frustrated because it's like, we've been saying Black Lives Matter. We've been screaming about the injustices that have been happening to us at the hands of the police. We've been talking about police reform. crazy enough, it's not the first time that someone has said on video, I can't breathe because of something illegal, some type of assault that they've suffered at the hands of the police. So it's frustrating. However, the other side of it is like, okay, it took long enough, but my God, we finally have your attention. And I think the reason we do have your attention is because the world has been turned upside down by coronavirus. Not our country, the world. We have 40 plus million people unemployed in America. We have a pandemic that is attacking our well-being, where we can't even function the same in society. We are stuck at home. We are on our telephones. We are on social media. We are on our televisions. We are listening to things, and we have your undivided attention at this point.
Yeah.
So, and you mix that with just going crazy from being locked up for so long because of quarantine, because of social distancing, that people are paying attention. And it's almost become the trend of, I guess, prior to this, it was unpopular to speak out on Black Lives Matter if you weren't Black.
Correct.
For some reason, people didn't get it. For some reason, people didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, the light bulb clicked on.
The hashtags are flowing.
And people get it. Yeah, people get it all of a sudden. And I think people, I guess because they're actually paying attention to it and they're not caught up in their everyday lives where they see it and they're like, oh, that's so sad. That's so upsetting. But now it is in your face. You can't escape it because we're stuck in quarantine.
Yeah.
And so it's tough to swallow. And you're seeing people, I think it's a new generation of people that are maybe unlearning some of the things that their parents' generation had learned and are upset with it and are frustrated with it. It's this perfect storm of all these different things culminated together where people are actually as upset as Black people are about what's happening in this country. And so I think that all of that combined is why it has become so huge. And now it's the complete opposite. If you're not speaking out on Black matters, you're shamed. I mean, that is not how things work.
Yeah, no. I mean, but it technically draws the line. I mean, if you can't see, if you don't have the humanity in you to see the injustice that was the murder of George Floyd, and you're talking about other topics and deflecting and putting the focus on other things, it's like, what are you really saying? You know what I mean? And it just boggles my mind. It's a shame. It's sad that, it took, or at least a big part of it, of what you just said, like it takes a pandemic for, I mean, I don't want to be insensitive to the coronavirus and everybody that's been affected because, obviously it's a terrible thing and it's affected so many lives, but it's like, is it a blessing in disguise that could be the cause or a helping cause in ending inequality and racism in this country? Like, that's what it took.
I don't think racism will ever end.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that, I mean, there are a lot of things that are going to come out of coronavirus, right? I think that people are going to appreciate life.
Absolutely.
And human contact way more than they ever did before.
And
they're
simple things
for our generation, because we're going to remember this.
Yeah.
They're going to, appreciate the simple things. They're going to appreciate human contact, the time that we spend with one another, because it has been stripped away from us for going on 3 months at this point.
Yeah.
So I think that's a positive that's going to come out of it, right? Like after the storm, comes, is it sunshine? I might be making this quote up, but there's a rainbow after every storm.
Yeah.
And so that means that something positive does come out of something negative. And I think, to your point, because we have captured your attention at this point with everything that's going on, and then these back-to-back events, George Floyd, I said it was an isolated event, and I'm talking about for centuries these things have been happening, but even in the last month with the Breonna Taylor, And then George Floyd, it was every week something was happening, and we're and in the most extreme way, right?
Yeah.
Ahmaud Arbery, gunned down, hunted, murdered in broad daylight. Breonna Taylor, in her own home, murdered when they were looking for a guy who was already in custody, and those police officers have not even been arrested. Then you have George Floyd. So I just think that, yes, this is one of those things where out of coronavirus, there is some sort of light about at the end of the tunnel, where hopefully, because we've been able to capture your attention, that you will see that there is so much racism in this country. And just because people aren't running around in white sheets and burning crosses in your lawn doesn't mean that racism doesn't exist. It is the subtle racism. It's the covert racism. It's the racism that comes from the top and the leadership in this country. I think part of the perfect storm is that it's also an election year.
Yeah.
So many things that have just come all the way up to here, to the top of your head, where you're just like, I've had enough.
People have had enough. People have had enough. They're fed up. I 100% agree with you. So just to my last question is, why, before we get into a little quick rapid fire, why is it so important for non-Blacks to get behind the Black Lives Matter movement that's going on right now in this country? I talked to you about, I feel like I have hope. Like, I see a lot of young people out there of all different races and ethnicities fighting for the cause. And, I really do have hope that the younger generation gets it and they could unlearn and break the cycle of racism that's in their families, and that was tried to be passed down from their elders. Those people could break that, and then when they raise children, anti-racism could be taught. Why is it so important that non-Blacks join this movement?
Great question. I know, because first of all, I have cautious hope. Yeah. I have hope because I'm seeing things I've never seen before. I have hope because I'm listening to people who've been in the fight for justice, like an Al Sharpton say in his lifetime, he's never seen what he's seeing before. And Al Sharpton marched with Dr. King. So to hear somebody like that say that they're hopeful, okay, I have hope. But I'm cautious about it because of what we've faced for centuries in this country. Why not? Why wouldn't it be another year of the injustices that we've been facing for hundreds and hundreds of years? But it's so important for non-Blacks to speak simply because of why we're shouting Black Lives Matter, right? We're shouting Black Lives Matter because we want you to know that our lives matter just as much as your lives do as a non-Black person, even though they haven't been valued or treated equally in this country. And if we're shouting for you to pay attention to us, to see us, to hear us, because you haven't valued our lives, and that also means that you haven't valued our voice, you haven't valued our opinion, you haven't valued our rights. Therefore, if you're not valuing us, then how are you ever going to respect the things that we're demanding, what we're requesting, what we're asking for? That's why we need people who don't look like us to jump over to this side and say, you know what? Your lives do matter, because we've been screaming it forever and nothing has changed. It is with the help of non-Blacks to show that we're all in this together, where our voices can be more powerful, we can be larger in numbers, and we can show that we're unified and all wanting the same thing, which is equality. Yeah. Also, when you talk about everyone saying systemic change, and things need to change, and it's not just about police reform, it's about the wealth gap, it's about employment. Things need to change to where Black people are given the same rights and respect as opportunities, thank you, as non-Black people are. And we can only do that with the help of our non-Black brothers and sisters who are at the top of whatever the system is. Yeah. And so it's just so important that we all come together and we all fight for this change, that we are all treated the same.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I just wanted to finish off with some rapid fire questions.
Oh, no.
No, it's all helpful for those out there. Just wanted to educate people. I wanted to get some resources out there to people. And obviously, I know you know a lot of good ones. So, who is someone out there that people should follow on social media?
Oh, gosh.
That can help educate, others on what's going on out there today.
Okay, so I'm looking at my phone because I'm trying to name. I'm gonna name two. I'm gonna name a guy. I'm gonna name a lady. So a lot of people turn to me on my social media because I do try to make people aware and speak out about what's going on right now. But it's important to know that I'm not an activist, right? I speak up and fight for what I believe in, but an activist is their full-time job to be fighting these injustices every single day on a local, regional, and national level. So I want to give you two people that do that all the time. That's Tamika Mallory, who had a very, very passionate speech when she spoke in Minneapolis in regards to George Floyd. She is somebody who is fighting every single day. Her name on social media is Tamika, Tamika D. Mallory. And then another activist that I'm just becoming more familiar with is Myson. And his name is, on social media, it's MYSONNENY General. And he's also doing a lot in the community before it became trendy, which is what everybody... I don't want to take away from what people are doing, but I'm just saying people were doing it when it wasn't popular to do it.
Yeah.
Also, somebody I get a lot of information from is Sean King. And I know that he just started, there's Grassroots Law that's also a part of that. And they just started a project where you can sign up to volunteer, because a lot of people want to know, how can I help? What more can I do than posting on social media? Well, they give options. You don't have to be an attorney just because it's called Grassroots Law. They'll say, do you want to make phone calls to educate people? Are there things that you can be on the ground where you can be passing things out? Maybe you can register people to vote. I used to do that in Texas. I think also, speaking of voting, you have to understand this is an election year.
Yeah.
This is a very important election, but that's just on a national level. You want to see some type of reform. You want to see police officers being prosecuted. You want to see...
It's got to be from the bottom up.
On a local level. That is, all these people are elected officials, your mayor, your state attorney, and those are the people who negotiate these collective bargaining agreements with the police union. That is where police reform can happen. Those are the people who elect your police chief. Those are the people who decide to prosecute the case against the police. So if you're upset and you're enraged and outraged and disturbed by what is happening, it's these local elections where we have the lowest numbers of people that turn out to vote, where they actually can make the biggest difference. And that goes on a regional level when it's fighting for legislation. Who's going to push forward your initiatives and things that you're passionate about? It's on a regional level in your state legislature. And then also voting for whoever is the congressperson of your district that's going to go fight for you in the House on a national level. So it's just important to vote, period.
Yeah.
Understand what it is that you're passionate about and what you want to see happen in your life in this country. And then make sure that you take it to the polls and use your voice there, because I don't care what anybody says, your voice counts. My ancestors died for the right to vote. It's twofold for me. It was taken away from me as a Black person and as a woman. So I will always exercise my right to vote. And that should encourage you to do it too.
100%. Any book recommendations that could help educate the listeners out there?
I mean, there's a list of books out there that people
been circulating around. Yeah,
that have been circulating around. A big popular one is How to Be an Anti-Racist. Doesn't mean that you're racist. It's just about being active about not being racist. I haven't read it, but I hear great things about it. There's a list of books out there that are, I mean, you could probably hashtag Black Lives Matter and you find the books.
Find the books, yeah.
Search the hashtag.
What about a movie or documentary, that could be really impactful to people out there as far as education? Like, I know for me, I just want to throw out this recommendation out there. It's 13. 13th, talking about the 13th Amendment. It was just so eye-opening in the fact that, you saw how the oppression didn't stop after slavery, and just the systems that have been put in place year after year, decade after decade, in order to keep, Blacks down in this country, and laws and president after president, laws and stipulations, the 3-strike rule, the mass incarceration, just talks about all these dynamics. And it's just really, really eye-opening. And essentially it shows exactly what needs to be turned upside down in this country when it comes to what we need to do. That's my recommendation, just because I know we saw that the other night, and I thought it was, I was fascinated, and it's a shame that more people just don't know about it. I know the Black community knows about it, and they live it every day, but it's just, I think those are great movies and documentaries just to get more awareness out there.
I'm sure if you look up 13th, and there's going to be other suggested movies that are along that same line. If you haven't seen When They See Us, which is a 5-part series, it is so powerful about the Central Park 5. And it even ties into our current president, who had a huge reaction to what happened. And it shows what type of leader we have in this country right now and how he thinks. I think you can take it back to, if you can, I don't even know if you're able to watch this because it came out in the 70s, but Roots, when you see how Black people were kidnapped off the coast, the shores of Africa, and brought over here, from the kidnapping to the slave ships, to standing on the platform being sold, to working on the plantation, it is powerful. It's something my mom made me watch as a child. And it's a long series, but it is so worth the watch. If you can find that and access it, I would definitely tell you to watch Roots, so you can understand some of the history about this. And then it ties into what Brian is saying about 13, and how, slavery may have ended, but there were these systems that imprisoned us and enslaved us as well.
Absolutely. And there was also another one, babe, that you had mentioned that you felt attached to emotionally because it was similar to like your story. I forgot which. It was with a young girl.
Oh, The Hate You Give.
The Hate You Give. There you go.
Which is a book first, but it's very, very good to watch as well. It's more of a recent movie. There's so many great ones. Just Mercy, we talked about, is a really great one. I think that it will make you outraged. It will make you upset. These aren't stories. It's not fiction. These are true events that have happened. I don't know if The Hate You Give is a true story, but these are true things that do happen in the lives of African Americans. And just because you're watching it on a movie screen, it shouldn't desensitize you to the injustices that people are facing.
Absolutely.
Black people are facing.
Yeah. All right, babe. That's all I have for you today. I love you. I appreciate you.
Love you too.
I respect you so much. I admire you so much. And, I just want to thank you for everything that you're doing. It's truly amazing. And I just want you to know I'm with you 100%.
Oh, thanks, babe.
Yeah. I know you're in the other room right now.
This is what you need in an interracial relationship, where there is this mutual respect and support and love for one another. And it's so important for me to say that I can't even follow up on the things that you said, but it's important that I can only be what I am because I have a strong partnership and because of the support that I have from you at the end of the day. Like, otherwise this wouldn't work, so Absolutely. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Love you.
Love you too.